Hello there and welcome once again to the Mayor's Magazine. I'm Mick Cornett, the Mayor of Oklahoma City, and this is our program for November of 2017. Glad you're with us, and thanks for joining us today. In this first segment, a real treat, Richard Kelley, who's the new fire chief, has joined us. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Now, is this your first time on the Mayor's Magazine? I can't remember if we've had you on another occasion or not.
Yes, sir. This is my very first time.
All right. Well, I know this has got to be the thrill of a lifetime. Second to becoming the fire chief of the citizens
very
of Oklahoma
close second.
City. Yeah. Well, tell us about the day you heard the news when you found out. Take us through that day.
It was definitely, I was ecstatic. You know, the opportunity to serve in a community like this is incredible. I was just humbled for the opportunity, and you know, I was super excited. I wanted to tell my family. You know, my family's been extremely supportive of me throughout this venture. So, you know, I just wanted to let them know how things were going, and I was just excited.
Now, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Moore.
Okay, and attended Moore schools?
Yes, sir.
And,
yes, sir.
And did you continue your education back past?
I went to Rose State for 2 years. At that time, I thought I wanted to be a CPA. Thought I wanted to be an accounting major, and after I realized that probably wasn't my field of expertise, I had some friends that were testing for the fire department, and I moved over to that, and the rest is history. I moved to OKC, finished my degree program there, and then I started testing for the fire service and got hired in 1991.
And what do you remember from those early days as a firefighter that you think you might rely on now? Because you know, when there's a new recruit, you might remember what that's like.
Yes, sir. I definitely remember what that was like, how nervous it was to start your career, how you wanted to do everything right. One thing I always learned, that you were going to make mistakes, but the most important thing was how you recover from them. As long as you worked hard, was dedicated to your craft, that you was going to be able to take care of the people that were sworn to serve.
Most people probably don't have any idea how many people work under the fire chief. Give us a number of firefighters in the city.
Yes, sir. We have 958 budgeted positions and 32 civilians.
And how many different stations are they located around the city?
36 different stations located around the city.
And when you think about it, you know, having to staff that many places 24/7.
Yes, sir.
365 days a year,
yes, sir.
The manpower and the woman power is very much needed.
Yes, sir, it is. Extremely important.
Give us a variety of the types of assignments that a firefighter might find themselves in these days.
You know, it's we look at the world we live in today as a 911 society where we're there to respond to the citizens' needs. So you can go from anything of just helping someone up out of the floor to a full-blown house fire to a cardiac arrest, vehicle accidents, lockouts, anything of it's an emergency type service. Usually when it comes to the 911 system, if they're unsure who to notify, usually it comes to the fire department.
And I assume there's some things you just can't train for.
It is very difficult to train for everything. I think it's extremely important that we stay vigilant and dedicated to providing an emergency services. So you've got to look at all aspects. If you're very well crafted in providing some type of rescue service, where it's vehicle extrication or a collapsed structure, then you can apply those different mindsets and tools and experiences to other type of responses.
Typically, what sort of reaction do you get from the general public when they encounter a firefighter? Because most people don't see one regularly.
Yes, sir. Usually they're ecstatic to see us. They're very appreciative of what the services we do provide, because the majority of the time when we show up, we're there to help. So they're very appreciative. We have great citizens that support us, so every time we show up, usually they're very happy to see us.
Through years of improvements in fire codes, we have cut down on the number of structure fires, but they still occur. What advice do you have to people who might live or work in a structure about being prepared for such an incident?
It is extremely important to today's society, and everything we look at, from terrorism to weather-related emergencies. We always tell people you need to be prepared. Be aware of your surroundings, know where your exits are, how to get out of a structure. If an emergency happens, you know, how to make contact with your 911, how to take care, be prepared to protect yourself. So we have to look out as how do you take care of yourself first. So those are some of the most important things we look at. In today's with active shooters, they run, hide, fight, acronym that FEMA's utilizing. So you have to be prepared to protect yourself.
I remember when I was a kid, my dad explaining if there's a fire in your room, go out the window and get outside and holler or run around and start knocking on their door. But in other words, don't try to take off through the house. Is that still good advice?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
One thing we always want to tell children or people we're dealing with is most of the time you're afraid.
Yeah.
So when people are afraid, they want to hide. So we want to tell in situations like that, know how to get out of your house, know how to open your windows, know how to, we tell people sleep with their door shut, because that keeps the smoke and contaminants out. Make sure you have a working smoke alarm. That's the most important thing we can tell people. We provide that free to any citizen in the city.
Yeah, how does that work?
If anybody will come to any fire station in the city, tell us where they live at, we'll come to their house, we'll install it. We'll actually do a home inspection program if they want us to do that, but we'll install it to code. So we may put more than one smoke alarm in their house.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about the equipment that firefighters have these days when they go out on a house fire. What are they wearing? What are they taking with them?
We have the best equipment that you can buy. Our citizens support us, so we have the best equipment. We wear a bunker coat that's essentially like a large winter jacket. Pants that are like a pair of coveralls, but they're definitely fire retardant material. Like I said, they're the best you can buy. When you put your SCBA on your back, which is your air tank, and everything, the ensemble weighs about 50 pounds. So you have to be in physically good shape to do that. But we have that equipment that's there available to them. We also have thermal imaging cameras. So these are actually cameras that they can see in the smoke that the firefighters can utilize to search structures. So we have that type of equipment that's available to them. The apparatus that we respond and provide our services on are all very well maintained, newer equipment, and again, that's from the services or the dedication of the citizens.
And talk a little bit about your ascension. You started off, what was your title when you first joined the firefighters? Yes,
sir. When I came into the fire department, it was fire recruit. You spend that as 1 year. Then you have a couple years that you do. In that time, you become a firefighter. As you get 3 years on, you become a corporal, and then you go to driver. I was fortunate enough, I made the driver rank, which is a sergeant lieutenant rank, with 6 years on the job. I went and drove a chief officer, so I got the opportunity to drive a chief. I made captain and went to the heavy rescue station. So I've spent a lot of time in urban search and rescue. I spent 12 days working at the Murrah bombing, so I have a lot of experience in that area. After that, I made battalion chief. Went down, worked south on the southwest side of the city in Robinson area, covered all the way southeast, was my first district. Then I came downtown, worked in the downtown area for almost 2 years. Promoted to deputy chief of support services, which is over the hiring, promotion processes, the recruitment. Then I made deputy chief of operations, which is over the personnel. And then again, on September 29th, I had the honor to be named the 21st Fire Chief.
All right, Richard Kelley, our new Fire Chief. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
congratulations.
sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor, for having me.
We'll have more on the Mayor's Magazine after this.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
Did you know that the arts make a significant impact on education, the economy, and our quality of life in Oklahoma? Providing more than 10,000 jobs statewide, filtering more than $314 million into our economy? Yes, the arts create all kinds of beautiful things. And making Oklahoma an even better place to live is the most beautiful thing of all. It doesn't take a big donation to make big things happen. Support Allied Arts today. A little give is all it takes.
Peak travel season is upon us. We're all in this line together. Wear shoes that are easy to remove. Skip the bling. It makes metal detectors ring. Make sure all liquids, lotions, and potions fit into that quart-sized bag. How quickly we get through depends on you. Arrive early and travel smart with Will Rogers World Airport. To learn more, visit flyokc.com.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Magazine. In this segment, we're going to visit with Michael Anderson. He's the Director of Curatorial Affairs. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You got it. You got it.
It's not an easy word.
No, it's not.
And we have a couple of great exhibits at the Oklahoma Museum of Art that are coming up throughout the month of November. First, the one that started on October 28th is Master Strokes, Dutch and Flemish drawings from the Golden Age. And then in the second half of the month, we're going to have an exhibit called The Art of Oklahoma. And we'll find out more about that in a moment. But first, let's talk to Dr. Anderson about this Master Strokes and the Dutch works that are coming in.
So we're really excited. We're going to be the first North American venue for an exhibition of master drawings from the Netherlands and Flanders from about the 16th to the 20th centuries. The exhibition's coming from the Victoria and Albert Museum, which has one of the best collections of works on paper drawings in Europe. So these are works by really famous artists from the period like Rembrandt, Rubens, and so on. And like I said, we're the first North American venue, so we're very excited to kind of kick off the tour of this really remarkable exhibition.
It does sound remarkable. How long will it be here? I mean, when did it start and how long will it be here?
So it's opening October 28th, runs through January 21st.
Okay.
So it'll be here for 3 months. And it's really kind of this is the first time a lot of these works are leaving Europe. So this is not something that you could just travel to, another big city in the United States and see. These are works that will be here and maybe one or two other places, and then they'll be back to London. So this is really kind of your only chance to see this exhibition.
Very exciting. Are you getting some interest from people around the region or around the country that want to come in?
Yeah, absolutely. We see that we often get interest in the neighboring states, of course, for our exhibitions, but this is one that I think will garner interest sort of more broadly because, again, it is so rare, kind of like our Matisse exhibition of a year ago.
What about art students and people that dabble as artists themselves?
It's a great opportunity, and we have a drawing studio that we're also will be operating in conjunction with it, so you'll get a chance to draw still lifes and kind of really study the art of drawing. So there are lots of different kind of entry points for this exhibition.
What's distinctive about these Dutch and Flemish artists?
Well, this is a time, it's really interesting, when for the first time middle class and upper middle class people could really start affording and purchasing art on their own. So it wasn't just the king, it wasn't just the crown and the church, but it was this kind of new generation, new population of merchants that were really kind of changing what art was. And with that, drawing became a medium that you could kind of more cheaply create works for this new kind of merchant class. But they were also studies for larger historical paintings and so on as well.
And then starting on November 16th, which I guess is Statehood Day.
That's right.
The day in 1907 when Oklahoma became a state. We'll have the first exhibit that day of what's called The Art of Oklahoma. What's that going to be about?
So that's the Oklahoma art from our collection. So as you said, this is opening on Statehood Day. And kind of the source for this exhibition, the federal government about a year ago contacted us. They had a sketch, a large oil sketch for a land run mural. And they said, would you be interested in showing this in your museum? And of course we said, yes, absolutely, we'd love to show this. So we started to think, okay, what's a good way to include this in our galleries? And we came up with an Art of Oklahoma exhibition. So it's an exhibition that'll start with this large oil sketch by John Stuart Curry, an important American regionalist painter. But then from there, we have different depictions of landscapes. We have different paintings of people from Oklahoma. There's a really good work by Ellen Shepard, who, if you know Shepard Mall, it was named after her family. That's where they lived. And Ellen Shepard painted in Paris for a while. She and her sister went to Paris, and one of the portraits of her sister Lottie was actually exhibited in the Paris Salon. It was one of only 2 works out of 800 submissions that were chosen by American artists. So out of 800 American artists, only 2 were chosen, and one of them was Ellen Shepard, who is one of the first great painters of Oklahoma. So we have these kind of historical works of different Oklahomans, different Oklahoma landscapes. There's a kind of road to Chickasha painting that we have, and then different kind of monuments and historical
Would that
moments.
be like I-44?
So, somewhere between the two, yeah, basically.
Interesting. And so she painted with oils, or?
Yep, she painted with oils. So we have a few works by her in the collection. With this oil portrait of her sister Lottie will be the one in the exhibition. There's also a really interesting painting by Otto Duker of a drifter that he met in Tulsa. His name was Robinson, and it's a painting. It's an oil painting, but it's cut out in the actual shape. So it's not a kind of oil in a rectangular canvas, but he's actually cut out so you see the figure, and that's one of the most popular works in our collection.
Really? And did he explain why he framed it that way?
He hasn't explained it, but it really has the effect of kind of making it a much sort of more impactful work. So we're really excited again. This is one of the works that people always respond to well in our collection. So that's included. Then we even have some more modern abstract paintings because, even though they might not depict Oklahoma in a literal sense of a landscape or somebody from Oklahoma. That's another important aspect of Oklahoma art. So we're really trying to kind of create a real variety of works in the exhibition.
Are there rural and urban? Or is it mostly
There
rural?
are. So, the rural landscapes. Another great one is there's an artist, Alexander Hogue, who painted kind of the, you'd say sort of the landscape after kind of poor agricultural practices, the ones that led to the Dust Bowl and so on. But then we also have depictions of the city, of Oklahoma City specifically. So there's a photo of Santa Fe Station, for instance, included in the exhibition. Or the structure that's now City Center, there was a photograph of that. So there are these urban depictions as well. So it really kind of spans the entire state, Black Mesa as well. So it's kind of all over the place. So it's all Oklahoma, not just Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about the museum itself. How old is it now, and what type of art is there, regardless of what's touring through?
Great. So we've been in our current location since 2002. And the museum itself was founded in 1945. So in another 3 years, we'll be celebrating our 75th anniversary. And our collection it does kind of run the gambit. So we actually have everything from, we have a Dutch painting currently on view. We have a lot of American paintings. That's really kind of the strength of our collection. We only started collecting in the 1940s, which was after a lot of other large cities had already kind of built their collections. So our collection is really strong in the second half of the 20th century. We actually have one of the strongest modern art collections in our region, which is, I think, something that surprises people sometimes when they come and see our museum. But we also often hear how strong that particular collection is, especially abstract art.
Yeah.
So we really have kind of a variety, Dutch, French, American, English, and so on.
I know it's a little bit out of your area, but there's also a really nice gift shop if people are looking
That's
for
right.
unique items. There's also a movie theater on site and a restaurant. Am I forgetting anything? There's an event space if people want
all
to
of the
rent it.
above. All of the above.
It's a glorious place. Remind us where it is by the address.
Okay, so it's 415 Couch Drive, and so that's right downtown. We're across the street from City Hall and about a block and a half north of Devon, if you can find that, which most people can.
Yeah, so next door to City Hall, which is right by the Civic Center, just
That's
across the street. So you'll find it. Do not be intimidated. I know it's downtown, but there's plenty of parking around, and it's worth the trip. It is the Oklahoma City Museum of Art. This is Michael Anderson. He's the Director of Curatorial Affairs. And again, we're going to have master strokes, Dutch and Flemish drawings from the Golden Age. That exhibit started on October 28th. And then starting on November 16th, The Art of Oklahoma. And I think both of them are probably going to be very, very popular.
That's right. We hope so.
Thanks for coming by.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
The Mayor's Magazine will continue after this break.
If one word could describe auto bill pay from Oklahoma City Utilities Customer Service Division, it would be Simplematic. Because auto bill pay makes it simple to schedule automatic payments for your utility bill. And that's simply Simplematic. Go to okc.gov and click Online Payments to schedule payments from your bank account. And boom, your bill gets paid automatically, on time, every time, month after month. You can review bills on your computer or smart device and set limits to avoid overdrafts. With auto bill pay, worrying about utility bills is a thing of the past. Visit okc.gov today and sign up for Auto Bill Pay, the Simplematic way to pay your utility bill.
At Embark, we're not just stops on a map or collection of random people. We are a community connected. Our choices on where to live, work, learn, meet, and play grow with the connections we create. And with strong connections come economic opportunities and vibrant communities. Where public transit goes, community grows. Plan your journey at embarkok.com.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Magazine. In this third and final segment, we're going to talk about a new project that's coming up on Northeast 23rd Street. And here to discuss it are Jonathan Dodson, who's closest to me, and Quentin Hughes. Welcome, both of you.
Welcome, thank you.
Yeah, I always think people like to know a little bit more about our guest. Jonathan, tell us about where you came from, where you grew up. Tell us about a young Jonathan Dodson. What were you like?
Scary, my parents might say. I was born in Colorado and lived in Arizona and then moved to Stillwater. and so I consider Stillwater my hometown, and grew up there, went to college, and met my wife at Oklahoma State, and then we were really part of the movement where when we had a choice between Tulsa and Oklahoma City, we begrudgingly went to Oklahoma City, always thinking we would leave to go to Tulsa, and within the first year or two we loved it and swore we would never leave, and so we are so thankful to be a part of really the movement that has happened through MAPS and everything else. So,
Were your parents associated with the university?
no, they were worked at Kicker Car Audio, and it's funny, Kicker, the founder of Kicker, his son Joel Irby is the one who just opened up Stone Cloud Brewery in our Sunshine building. So everything kind of came full circle.
What a coincidence.
So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and where did you learn the development work?
I met Blair Humphreys right before he left to go to MIT, and he gave me 3 books to read. And I was a banker at the time, and so I read those and became fascinated and ended up lending money as a banker to my current business partners. And really that led to a partnership when I left banking, and Tower Theater was our first project, and we've been doing fun projects ever since.
All right, Quentin Hughes, what's your story?
Well, not nearly as interesting, but I was born and raised in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Tell us about Little Rock in that era.
Well, you know, Little Rock, well, in my era was the banging in Little Rock era, if you can remember that early on. But Little Rock is very comparable to Oklahoma City, I would say. And so, you know, came to Oklahoma when I went to college to OU, and I guess I'm officially an Okie now. It's been long enough. But,
what was the draw to Oklahoma?
Well, there was an excellent opportunity to come here on a scholarship for engineering. And so I didn't have that same opportunity with the Razorbacks, which is where I originally intended to pursue my education. So, so I ended up here, and probably the best choice I ever made.
And so how do you use your engineering background in these development projects?
Well, I'm not necessarily a developer, but I'm a member of the Northeast Oklahoma City community, and I just really have always wanted to see an area like Northeast be able to be transformed into a thriving community. And so where I'm from in Little Rock is very similar.
And so Northeast 23rd Street is the corridor you guys are working on. Tell us about your project, at least phase 1, Jonathan.
So phase 1, it's been about a year that's been underway, and so we acquired phase 1 and phase 2 is about 40,000 square feet of space, and then 6 lots. And so we started partnering with Oklahoma City Clinic, and they agreed to move their headquarters and from kind of the Health Science Center to the east side, and they had a vision for what we were trying to do. And so we think we've got another tenant that would take up the rest of that 18,000 square foot building, and we consider that kind of the phase 1 as the healthcare component. And then if people are familiar with the Plaza District, what we realized is that a couple restaurants create a place that everyone's willing to go to, and that's where interaction happens. And so part of our goal is to create healthcare, but then to create a social interaction where maybe people aren't used to driving past the Capitol eastbound. We want them to keep driving because there's so many great restaurants over there that people just don't know about. And so if we can create a couple places that seem like they're something similar they might see on the west side, that opens up the whole kind of east side corridor to them. And so Quentin and One OKC has been super. He says he's not a developer, but he's a social developer. So he's created all of these relationships that really, there is so many young people from the east side that want to see it change, which is really cool. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Quentin, long term, what are you hoping for?
Well, I'm hoping for.
City?
Well, I was lucky enough to find my wife here, and so I'm rooted. But if this opportunity, if this development works, I really look forward to the opportunity to replicate a similar model where they've really created something that encourages the tenants to really be a part of the development, because they do end up with an equity stake in it, and so I'd like to see something like that be able to be replicated in different parts of Northeast Oklahoma City to really add to the overall renaissance there.
And that's what we found, is that in a gentrifying market, the people who always get pushed out are the tenants, because all the value they create, they then get assessed higher rents until they can't afford that anymore, so then they have to leave and go to another area. And so what we were trying to do in this development is to create a model where the value that's created, the tenants actually get to recognize. And so in our retail component in phase 2, the tenants will actually have ownership in the real estate. So the value they create, they actually get to be a part of. And so at the end of their lease, they can stay or they can go, but they're still an owner in the real estate. And so to us, we've been traveling all over the country, and we really think that's a model that could work in Hispanic districts and Asian districts, where the community there that's held on for a long time can still play a part of the renaissance within that district.
Do you get your ideas from other places, or when you travel, do you think about your own ideas being implemented in other places?
So much of what we do is local to context of Oklahoma City and relationships. Quentin and Sandino and all of these guys, Kamal, that have helped me understand a lot of the challenges that they have. But we're a part of a group called the Urban Land Institute, which has been super influential for us. And so when we travel, we're constantly meeting with them and asking how they're developing in their communities and their minority communities, and where have they seen successes and not. And so this is probably kind of a blend of a lot of the things that we've seen. But we think it's really unique. We don't think anyone has kind of taken this approach to it, which we're really excited about.
Yeah. Do you use market research, or do you just go by your instincts?
We've done market research. Part of it is being in the community. We've done several with maps for neighborhoods. We met with the community there and asked them what they needed. And then part of it is knowing that when you create a great food product and you consolidate that, millennials spend 20% more on food and beverage than any other generation. And so we know that we can capture a market that will go to good food, and they're not scared by misperception of what an area may or may not be. And so that's what we're trying to do: affordable food that caters and is authentic to the community, but then allows new people to experience it.
Quentin, do you have other ideas that you hope to pull off here in a few years?
I think not necessarily now, but I'd like to be able to become a developer and later be able to kind of assume that kind of role that Pivot's played here. But one thing I didn't mention was that, in 5 years, I expect for Northeast Oklahoma City to be thriving, and for 23rd Street to be the catalyst to that, and be able to kind of branch out 36th, 4th, those different corridors and those different areas. We really want to see them all thrive, and I think it starts with this development.
Mm-hmm. What do we lack? If you were advising city leaders about what Oklahoma City should be concentrating on to continue this attraction for, the highly educated 20 and 30 somethings, what do we need to be able to compete with the other cities that are trying to do the same thing?
Well, I think it's gonna. I think our perceptions and our ability to include and feel like an inclusive society or city. And so I think we've made some positive steps, but I think we can do better. And a lot of millennials are really drawn to that type of culture and that type of mix. And so I think that's one thing that we can be focused on.
I think we've got all of the components of an incredible place, but we haven't figured out how to embrace it. And so I think about the South Side and the restaurants, the Hispanic restaurants that are there, and that culture, the Latina culture and Latino culture that's there. And so it's learning to embrace some of those things that I think it's kind of a lie sometimes where we say a rising tide lifts all boats. If a community has holes in it, it actually floods the holes, it floods those communities. And so much of what's happened downtown has had to happen, and it's really good. But I think part of it is learning when do we take that next step and connect those communities that have been on the periphery, because when I go to San Francisco or Detroit or Chicago, what I love is the culture and the young folks that are there. And I feel like, aren't we one of the fastest growing millennial cities in the country right now? So much of the groundwork has been laid now for, I think, the next steps that could come. So,
Jonathan Dodson and Quentin Hughes, thank you all for both coming on the show, and good luck on the project on 23rd Street.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right. That's it for this month's show. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you in December.
That's a wrap, Rumble.